My name is Matt Lees, and I wanted to make a quick little video about the problem with feminism, because I seem to have had a bit of a problem recently trying to communicate that to the world. It's funny, I had a situation over the weekend where I had a lot of people attacking me personally in some interesting ways. Obviously, some people were just calling me a faggot, and I'm not really going to discuss anything with those guys because I don't really feel like there's much to discuss. But interestingly, a lot of very seemingly intelligent young men were having conversations with me about men's rights and about the fact that obviously if women are allowed rights, then surely men's rights and campaigning for men's rights is equally important. And I'll get back to that in a minute. But first things first, I just want to talk about what's wrong with feminism. And there's something very wrong with feminism at the moment, and it's the fact that most people don't really understand what it is, and that's down to the word being kind of fairly misused and abused over a long period of time. And I'm just going to kind of go out there and say this: it's not your fault, you know? If you don't understand what feminism means, that's not me saying that you're stupid or anything. I'm just saying you maybe don't know what it means, but that's not your fault. It's the fault of the world around you. And the reason I'm not angry about this, and I'm certainly not going to try and talk down to anyone who doesn't think about things in the same way as me, is because I used to think about things in the same way as lots of people who've been getting in contact with me. So lots of people who've been saying to me, yeah, but Matt, you're wrong because of this. I don't look down on those opinions to any degree, because I used to look at the world in exactly the same way. I don't think it's stupid. I don't think it's a stupid outlook. I think it's a completely reasonable outlook up to a point. And the thing about that is, well, to go back, I'll just explain the way I used to look at it. I used to look at, first of all, I used to laugh at feminism. I thought feminism was a joke. I thought it was just something daft, perpetuated by shirty women who hated men and who wanted the world to be somehow bland and everything to be equal, and somehow that would just make everything boring. They were trying to put restrictions on things. They were trying to remove things from media, trying to remove things from the world to make it seem more fair, and to make, I kind of assumed it would just be dulled somehow because it was a boring agenda. And a lot of that, I think, came from mediocre to bad 1990s comedians. Particularly in the 90s, feminism was a joke, and it was an easy joke that people would bring up and go, oh, bloody feminists. And that kind of got into my head, obviously, because, you know, we are affected by the media around us and the world around us. And I think that generally speaking, throughout the 1990s, particularly on television, feminism was a joke. And because of that, I grew up treating it as one. And that didn't change when I got to university and started to meet people who identified as feminists and found them largely to kind of meet that criteria. Because again, in the same way that lots of kind of shitty comedians had taken on that word and used it as their own to make jokes about women, a lot of women who identified with it and used it, really, they weren't really feminists either. They were just women who weren't very happy a lot of the time and didn't seem to like men very much. And, you know, fair enough, whatever, but that's not what it is. Not what feminism is. It's not about disliking men or thinking men are bad. It's just about kind of having an understanding. And so now I'll come on to what feminism actually is. And really, it's just a case of not wanting people to be treated badly or unfairly purely because of what they got going on with their genitals. That's it. It's purely that. And what it all comes down to really is having to accept that the world is designed around men. And it's not a matter of feeling guilty about that or feeling like, whoa, the shame, feeling guilty for being a man. Because of course you shouldn't feel guilty for what you're born as. That's kind of the whole thing I'm getting at here. But it's just about understanding that and accepting it, and making sure that when you're kind of going through your life, you kind of keep that in mind and go, I've kind of been dealt the easy hand here. It's like, you know, being born a white male, you shouldn't feel any guilt for that, but you have to accept the fact that you've basically been given the easy mode to life. The problem with this argument is that a lot of people seem to think it suggests that men don't have any problems, and that being a white man means your life is perfect and you never have any problems, you never have to deal with any bad situations. And that's not true at all, of course. You know, everyone has problems, everyone has shit to deal with. It's not, you know, life isn't sunshine and roses for anyone. But generally speaking, across the board, we have had it easier. And it's the same way you look at climate change and weather. Like, you know, people say climate change doesn't exist. They're just quite literally not looking at the facts, and it's massively, massively documented fact that it is happening. And it's because they're basing their views of climate change on the weather, what's happening to them directly, you know, what's happening in the world outside of their window rather than the world at large. And that is where the problem of misogyny comes in. A lot of people get really angry when somebody says that men are misogynistic, and I can completely understand why, because I used to get angry for the exact same reason. As you go, well, no, I'm not, because you kind of look at misogyny as being aggressive to women or mean to women or disliking women. And you know what, when you hear people talking about feminism and misogyny, you kind of go, well, no, that's bullshit. Because from a personal level, it is bullshit. You kind of think, I respect women, I love women, I'm not mean to women, and none of my friends are. So you kind of think, well, there isn't a problem. Like, if everyone I know respects women and likes women and has no problem with women, then surely that's representative of the world at large. And so surely there isn't much of a problem. And actually, up until the age of when I was about 25, probably, I believed that. And I honestly thought, well, there isn't a problem. In the past, there's clearly been problems with gender and problems with sexism, but that's something that's we've moved on from. We're more progressive now, and it's, you know, we don't need to worry about that because the whole sexism thing has been fixed because we've stopped treating women badly and we've stopped being mean to them within Western culture. And that's fine up to a point. The problem is that society has fundamentally been built around this gender role of men being in control. And so even if for 1 or 2 generations we kind of go, all right, we're not going to stop being dicks to women as much, and we're going to stop being like hating them or trying to oppress them directly, we still have to accept that inherently the entire society has been built around these very, very long-standing cultural traditions of men being in charge. And again, it's not a matter of having to go through your life feeling guilty about this. It's just about accepting it and accepting that it's not that men as individuals are misogynistic, it's that society, culture is inherently misogynistic. It's just the way it is. It's the way it's built. And again, it's like, you know, we shouldn't feel bad about that as individuals. We shouldn't feel like we have to feel guilty and we have to defend women and make women, oh, and there is this idea that, you know, a lot of men are kind of somehow being like, oh, I will defend women. It's not about that. It's not that at all. It's just about the fact that you accept the fact that there isn't a level playing field. And I identify as, I actually have gone from completely thinking that feminism is bullshit, and a few years ago if somebody told me about men's rights activists and the MRA, I would have gone, yeah, fair enough, you know, women have got women's rights, men have men's rights too. But now I kind of realised when you actually look at the world and you look at the fact that there's still a vast amount of subjugation. I'm not going to go into the extremities here or talk about anything like rape or violence towards women. Just on a really basic level, you know, women get paid less for the same jobs. You know, there are very few women in positions of actual power in the world. It's, you know, it's really heavily documented that men are still in control of the world to a substantial degree. And you kind of have to accept that. And if you don't accept that, then you're kind of just being willfully ignorant. And that's the bottom line, really. It's really massively well documented, and if you just look around, you'll see that. I think the really important thing about all of this is just not to take it personally, and it's really difficult not to take it personally, because when someone says men are misogynistic, it's natural to take that personally, because, you know, I'm a man, and if somebody says to me, men are shit to women, I go, I'm not. I never have been, and I never have been. But that doesn't mean that men as a species, as part of the whole system, haven't been shit to women on a wider scale. So it is that difference between weather and climate change. And now, admittedly, I identify as a feminist, and I think that feminism is important because of the fact that we have over thousands of years developed a system whereby men are inherently favoured. You're inherently given a bit of extra help at the start. It's like the equivalent of going around a Monopoly board, and every time you pass go, you get 400 quid, whereas women get 200 quid. And the reason I don't like this is because I don't like life being easy. I've never chosen the easy options. I've always tried to do the most challenging things, and that's not because I don't know why that is. I like a challenge. I don't like to feel like I've been handed anything. which means I've always tried to concentrate on doing things and learn to do things that I'm inherently not good at, because I want to try and be better. I don't want to be trying to be better than anyone else. I just want to try and be better than the person I am now. And I think that feminism is important to give everyone a fair balance, because I kind of feel like I've cheated. You know, in my life, I'm not like vastly successful, but I'm doing quite well. I'm doing quite well. And I'm aware that a lot of that is down to the fact that I was born as a white middle-class man. And I'm not going to feel guilty about that. I'm not going to feel ashamed of that. But I kind of have to bear in mind the fact that I've been given a green card. I've been given life on easy mode. So yeah, that's what feminism is all about. What's the problem with feminism? As I say, the problem with feminism is that people don't really know what it is. And it's not about wanting a world where women have more power than men. It's not about a world where arts or media gets censored to please women. And it's not about trying to have a world in which sex is removed, in which sex is dulled down, and we're not allowed to have media with women with their breasts out or anything like that. It's just about making sure that things are a bit more leveled out, you know, that it's not just kind of the same stuff over and over again and massively outweighed towards men, because it's these subtle things, unfortunately. It's not about kind of removing the extremities and dealing with the extremities within culture. It's about the kind of constant barrage. It's the tiny things, you know. It's the page 3 in the newspapers. It's the kind of the way that women are kind of treated as being just slightly inferior in gradual ways. Like within my industry with video games, when you meet people who play when you meet girls who play games, you automatically assume that they probably aren't as hardcore as male gamers. And you know, I'm guilty of doing this as well, because the problem is we're not fighting against conscious thought. We're fighting against socially embedded stuff that's been around for hundreds of years. The thing about this stuff is it's all ingrained. It's not something that we're consciously ever really aware of. And it's just a case of trying to look at the world and notice these things. And actually feminism foremost is just about noticing that, and about trying to look at the perspective of what it might be like if you're a woman. And it's that simple, actually. It's that simple. If you feel like you're in a situation, if you're trying to imagine yourself what it would be like, what your life would have been like if you'd been born a woman, then if you kind of think, well, hell, that wouldn't be fair because I wouldn't have so much good stuff, then that's the problem. It's not about trying to make the experience of life for everyone exactly the same. It's not about trying to level things out and make them somehow bland by making sure that everyone has to be dealt with in the exact same way. It's just about making sure that people aren't being needlessly disrespected or treated in a specific way just because they're a different gender. Or, you know, it's the same thing with racism. But the reason I identify as a feminist as well as a humanist, I do think that, you know, everyone deserves respect, is because it's a massive problem. Half the world are women. And you know what, like, my mum was a woman, she's pretty fucking cool. My girlfriend's a woman, she's pretty fucking cool. And one day I might have daughters, and if I have daughters, I want them to be pretty fucking cool. And I wouldn't like them to grow up in a world where just because they don't have dicks, they struggle to be as successful. And that's it, that's fucking feminism. Is that crazy? I don't know, you tell me. But anyway, I just want to send this message out, and even if just a couple of people who kind of identify as men's rights activists watch this and kind of go, fair enough, kind of get where you're coming from, then that's cool. Because, you know, the patriarchy does exist. And again, it's not about saying that men are sexist or evil and have to drastically change. It's not about treating individual men as being monsters just for liking to look at tits, because of course they do, and I'm sure women fucking love looking at dicks as well. It's fine. It's just about appreciating that our world and our society has been built from the base up for a long period of time around men. Don't feel bad about it. Just notice it. Just notice it. Be aware of it. And then if we all do that, and we're all aware of it, and we all just make sure that we don't let it continue to snowball and try and make slight changes here or there just to make it a little bit more fair, you know what? The world will be a better place. And feminism doesn't want to make women better than men. And you know what? If I wake up one day and the world seems pretty damn fair, and women are no longer being treated like shit just for being women, then I won't be a feminist anymore, because there won't be any need at all. So, that's that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Sorry it's not about video games. Bye!